Oh, what the fuck is going on, people? Does anyone understand this series? I mean, I kind of understand bits and parts here and there, but Jesus! What is going on? All right, let's talk about Pets, episode 4. All right, so let's try to unwrap this episode bit by bit and try to make some sense out of it. So in the beginning of the episode, we see Satoru as a child. It looks like he lost a very significant member of his family. I can't remember, was it his father or like an uncle or something? But anyway, he's gone, and it looks like he's going to have to be taken care of by his grandmother. Now, in this episode, we see Hayashi take Satoru to a different room, and we see Katsuragi talking to Satoru's grandmother. Now, unfortunately, he manipulates her memories in such a way where he crushes her. And this seems to be a consistent theme throughout the series. Katsuragi is very much interested in crushing people's memories and leaving them as vegetables or just offing them. He doesn't have any sort of delicate morals behind his actions. He's just very much cutthroat. So he manipulates one of the memories in which he makes the father look like he's a bad guy and he doesn't care for her. So this leaves Satoru all alone. And they call him a pet in this episode as well. So he and Hiroki are very much similar in this regard. They seem to be lower class mind manipulators, whereas Tsukasa and Hayashi seem to be of a higher class. Their abilities seem to surpass those of the pets. So Satoru is under the control of Katsuragi and Hayashi at this point in the story. But as we know, as Satoru becomes an adult, he's under the care of Katsuragi. So then we see a moment in where Hayashi's location is revealed. It looks like he's in an apartment complex, and he doesn't seem to leave. All he does is watch TV, and he orders noodles to his room. So Tsukasa and Katsuragi are having a discussion in which they believe the noodle man who's doing the deliveries may be in on the operation. Hayashi might be using him as a pigeon, as they call it in the anime, someone that they manipulate to carry messages. They don't really have any sort of thoughts or anything. They carry out their duties, and they don't speak ill, and they don't reveal the identity of the person who's manipulating them. So a very useful little trick there. And it becomes quite confusing because we see the different mind manipulators manipulating all sorts of different people. So, I mean, it's like, goddamn, the webs in this anime and the plots you have to follow. It's very intricate, and they're not really making it easy. You really have to watch carefully, maybe twice, to really catch all the little details. So as it turns out, the manager of the complex that Hayashi is staying at is in cahoots with Tsukasa and Katsuragi. Now, once we go to the building across from the complex where Tsukasa and Katsuragi are sort of keeping lookout, we get some interesting development from Tsukasa. In the first 3 episodes, we were kind of like, he seems like this good guy. Him and Hiroki got a nice little bond. They seem to be a nice little tandem. However, it seems like Tsukasa is the boss of Katsuragi, and it also seems like he may have some evil intentions. He might have machinations that go well beyond Katsuragi, Hiroki, perhaps even Hayashi. So, although my perception on that did change at the end of the episode. So they're trying to get a hold of Hayashi, but for what reasons, I'm not really sure. Maybe someone can enlighten me to that fact, but God, there's just so much going on. It's so hard to follow. We then see a moment in which Hayashi and Satoru are communicating with each other from 2 separate locations. It looks like they're in Hayashi's peak. And Hayashi basically demonstrates that he can use pigeons, that he can manipulate people in ways in which they can utilize them to pass messages. So Satoru does this with one of the cleaning maids. So after Satoru manipulates the mind of the maid, he's asking her various questions about how many lookouts there are in the hotel, one of them including herself, and he's also asking about the location of Hiroki. And this becomes pertinent later in the episode because Satoru decides to leave the high-rise tower and go to the fish shop where Hiroki is at. But before we go to that situation, Katsuragi basically gets caught by Hayashi in a little shop. And Hayashi is trying to manipulate his memories, but it doesn't work at first. And Katsuragi pulls out a gun on him. And I gotta say, there's a very hilarious moment where Hayashi is basically fucking with Katsuragi, and he knows that Katsuragi doesn't like cats, and he does this very cringy meow. Oh man, that was so funny. You know, in an anime where it's very suspenseful and very psychological, when they throw in a joke that you're not expecting and it really breaks the overall tone of the series, it's so hilarious. I mean, God, it just caught me off guard. It was really well timed. Now, it looks like Katsuragi has the upper hand on Hayashi. However, he gets distracted by the old lady in the shop, and then she turns around and she's holding like a little dollhouse, and Katsuragi looks at the little doll, and Hayashi's got him. He's trapped. And wow, what a mindfuck here. Hayashi's got some impressive skills. He's definitely someone to watch out for. He kind of gives off this placid, happy demeanor, but underneath that, he can be very cruel and ruthless. So Katsuragi's out of commission. Hayashi takes his car, but before that happens, just backtracking a little bit, Hiroki and Satoru have an interesting conversation here, where Satoru is telling him about the pigeons, and Hiroki mentions the fact that Tsukasa shared his peak with him, and he feels very much indebted to him, and he feels very much reliant on him. So it almost seems like if you share your peak with someone, they become your pet, and they become very loyal to you. And even Hiroki mentions that he feels like he can be manipulated very easily, and he's kind of concerned about this. And he also figures out, thanks to Satoru, that he's being watched by Tsukasa from a store across the street. So I'm wondering if Tsukasa is more so watching him because he feels protective of Hiroki, because maybe Hiroki has access to certain portions of his peaks that he doesn't want other people to find out about, or if maybe he feels like Hiroki is a valuable asset and he doesn't want someone else to take him. I don't know. I mean, it's like Tsukasa seems like a bad guy here. Hayashi kind of seems very manipulative, even though they're sort of giving off the vibe that he's not. I feel like he could be the master manipulator here. The overall impression so far would make you believe that he's the nice guy, but usually looks can be very deceiving. And, you know, in real life, people who appear nice are usually the most dangerous people of all. They're usually putting on the biggest acts. I believe even Nietzsche said something to the effect of, you must be very wary of nice people because they have evil intentions. I am absolutely butchering that quote, so if anyone can find the real quote on that, I thought it was from the book Beyond Good and Evil, but I might be wrong. It just kind of all intermingles in my head. Little philosophy sidetrack there. But then the episode ends with Tsukasa stopping Hayashi's car and staring at him in a way where he looks very jubilant at the fact that Hayashi is in front of him and that he's finally confronted him and that he can talk to him again. So I believe that Tsukasa probably saw Hayashi's peak. I believe in the anime, this is how you can make someone subservient to you, in the sense that they feel very reliant on you and they almost feel besides themselves if they're not in your company. Tsukasa was trying very hard to catch Hayashi and be in his company. Hiroki seems out of sorts when Tsukasa's not around. Satoru doesn't seem himself when Hayashi's not around either. So this is very interesting. I mean, is Tsukasa, even though he has a pet in Hiroki, is he Hayashi's pet? I mean, the mind manipulation is so intermingled and fucked up. It's so hard to follow. And then if we want to go even deeper down the rabbit hole, maybe Hayashi is someone else's pet. I mean, it goes on endlessly and endlessly. It's kind of like the chicken and egg conundrum. Like, who started this whole dynamic between pets and their owners? You know, it might be something we might never figure out. I mean, maybe they'll give us an answer, or maybe it will end in sort of a enigmatic riddle. Very fascinating stuff. Overall impressions, this was my favorite episode to date. I mentioned in the previous 3 episodes, I wasn't a big fan of the series up until this point. I felt like it was a bit superficial, but I was hanging on to it because I felt like the plot was interesting and complex enough for me to say, you know what, I want to see how this plays out. And even though the characters still feel very superficial to me, the plot is getting so interesting and dynamic that I think it's outweighing it. So I would say I'm starting to somewhat like this series. And the OP, I gotta say, is probably my favorites for the winter 2020 season. It's probably either that one or Hands Off the Motion Pictures Club. But very good stuff. So I really got no complaints about this episode. I feel like they did a nice job of building up the tension. We're getting bits and pieces about the characters themselves and how this master and pet relationship works. So, I mean, if they can sort of cultivate this in a way where everything sort of makes sense in the end, this could be a good series. I wouldn't say that it's good quite yet, but it's got me on the edge of my seat. So I'm kind of teetering right now. I'm sitting on the fence, and it will depend on the following episodes of whether or not I fall on the side of I like it or if I fall on the side of I hate it. Or maybe I'll just sit on the fence till the very end. Who knows? But anyway, good episode this week. I did enjoy this one, so we'll leave it there for now. Again, like I said in the last episode, if you guys have any other insights that I missed, like I said, this is a very perplexing series, so there's bits of information that I didn't catch on to. So if you did catch on to that, if you feel like there's something relevant to the plot that I didn't mention, make sure to leave that in the comments so we can all learn together. But with that said, guys, I'll catch you on the flip side.